morning, everybody, and thank you for coming to Deb Chanel's 48's World, where we do recaps and reviews on reality shows and soap operas, and pretty much anything else I want to do a review on, etc., etc., etc. Okay, today we're going to talk about the TV series Thicker Than Water, the Tankard Show. The title of the particular episode is The Hard Knock Life. It was season 3, episode 3. Let me go give you a little information about it. It says Jewel heads to Detroit to tape her talk show with an invited Brooklyn, Brittany, and Serene in tow. The women take a trip down memory lane in a Motor City as Jewel attempts to reconnect with Cyrene. Also, Brooklyn opens up about her brewing resentment. Okay, let's go on and get into it. We're recapping from last episode. Cyrene is telling her mom, does she regret having children? Okay, now that would have been a time she would have got a pop in the mouth. Okay, old school upbringing, as you can say. Anyway, we go on. Jewel Tankard arrives in Detroit for her talk show. She's picked up by her assistant, and as she's on her way, I guess, to the actual event itself, or she might just be going to see her spiritual family, she calls Ben on the phone. Ben is talking with his wife, Jewel. And, she's telling him she arrived safely in Detroit. He's saying that's fine, that's good. And, they're playing past clips and all of this type of information of when they were in Detroit, when they met, this, that, and the other. Okay. So he's basically just telling her, hey, do what you got to do. Get back home safely. Call me later. The usual drill when you leave your spouse at home and they're not traveling with you. Okay. The next scene, we go to Brooklyn and Brittany. They're both at their little shared home, and they're getting ready for the trip. And then we leave there. We go to Cyrene. She's in her dorm at school, and she's calling her favorite aunt. I think it's Junette. And she's telling her, hey, I can't wait to see you. And we get started on this little trip deal and this, that, and the other. And, just making small talk, and they're excited to see one another and so they can catch up. Anyway, we move from there. We go to Brooklyn. Brooklyn is going to be a mom. Well, no, I'm sorry. Brooklyn is going to be on her, I guess it would be her stepmom, but they call her Mama Jewel. So she already done inherit her as her mother, her second mother, I guess. But anyway, she's supposed to be Jewel's first guest to the show, and pretty much, it's Ben Tankard's daughter from a previous marriage or a previous relationship. And we all know Brooklyn had a hard time growing up and adjusting to the life that she was born into, and then coming over living with Jewel then, because she had gotten into so much trouble, so much mischief, because she was, didn't have the proper upbringing or a strong father figure in her life, because her dad was, accomplishing his dreams and trying to, I guess, grind real hard so he could reap the benefits to come back and take care of them unselfishly, and this and the third. Okay. Or at least that's how I'm viewing it. I'm taking it. We always want to chase our own dreams and hopefully say it would benefit the family unit in its entirety after the dream has been achieved. So that's basically what most human beings do. And they forget sometimes it's about being there, watching their offsprings go through their life changes, and being there to be there for the good things and be there for the bad things that happen throughout the course of their life. But it is what it is, and we deal with it appropriately when we start paying attention to it for what it is. So Brooklyn had gotten into a lot of trouble with the law, of course, and then just life in general. So then she did, by coming living with them and them impressing upon her straightening up, flying right, showing her the proper way you go out and, make things happen for yourself, and, the legit way as well. And, stop making all of these dumb decisions because you do have a daughter that you need to take care of the, appropriate way and proper way. And, you just want to be a role model for your children. You don't want other people to become role models outside of the family unit. You know what I'm saying? So she was a good inspiration piece, individual to come in that had a very rocky start from the beginning, but with a lot of help and guidance. And it didn't help that her father was well off after he traced his dream, and it went to fruition and all of this, so he can help her much. Excuse me, guys. He can help her out a little bit more financially, so she can solidify herself doing some things that she wanted to achieve, like being her own hair, having her own hair business, hair salon, hair products, and all that in her name, and it growing as a brand. So she went from I guess it says Shitsville to Sugarville. So she was a good person to bring on as a invited guest to talk about her bad times and how she turned things around through perseverance, having a strong spirituality to guide her, and a supporting family. So that was good to hear, and that's why she chose Brooklyn to be one of her guests, her very first guest, to come on her talk show and tell her story for millions of viewers, and so they can have some insight that of, hey, if she can do it, and she's at a young age messing up, and she can turn her life around, then I can too. So that was a good feel good story, good humanitarian piece. Jewel was trying to chart out for herself and her brand, as well as her TV show. So good, kudos to you, Jewel. So then we go to Brittany and Brooklyn, and they are, trying to basically leave home, going towards the airport and all of this. And they're talking and singing on their way because they're excited. And who wouldn't be? Okay. They're going back pretty much to see where their mother, or adopted mom, or stepmom, however you want to view it, got her bearings from, how she grew up, her upbringing, because they're not in the same town. So of course you would want to go back if you had the opportunity to see where your parents grew up, the places they used to hang around, if they're still there, or kind of give you a visual of somewhat of a visual of where it was, if it still have the same structure around the environment that your family may have had, homes or businesses, or all of that, or they're in their own little place where they used to hang out at, and they could tell you stories, and they'd be believable because you actually went through them, and you weren't ashamed to show them, hey, these were my meager beginnings, but look where we are now. Through God, the love for my craft, and this, that, and the other, we made it, and this is where it all began. That motivated me to do better. So that was a feel good moment too. So then we go back to Micah, the little baby boy of Marcus and his wife. They are all basically at the home compound. When I say home compound, I'm talking about Jewel and Ben Tankard, the father of them, or the dad of them, I should say, home. And they're going over, doting over the little baby Micah, and I think he's teething at this time. That's why Marcus' wife didn't want to leave the baby. And I forgot her name. Oh, excuse me, guys. I took some allergy medicine. This is the time I suffer. I realize I suffer out throughout the year because I'm environmental, as indoors and outdoors. So I get all the different pollen count, tree pollen, grass, weeds, mold. So I'm suffering a lot. That's why you can't really find me on camera as much as I like to when I first started out. And that's basically because, honey, it just takes 2 bucks to get all done up and this, that, and the other. So basically, everybody's chilling while the women or out in her hometown, um, going back down memory lane, and she had to go do her taping for her show or her gospel unit, a channel for gospel. What is it? I think it's a gospel channel she has, but it's a talk show. But they basically geared it to like a religious type talk forum. And then we have Jewel finally arriving at her spiritual parents' home. The group of people, or the couple that had steered her away from the life that she was leading at the time, because as she tell you, she used to hang out with a lot of drug dealers and drug boyfriends and this, that, and the other. And a lot of her friends had come up deceased because they were basically running in the wrong circle of friends, and they happened to take a liking to Jewel, and they, pretty much got her together, where her parents weren't, I guess, doing such a good job, or they weren't there looking after her and paying attention to her needs. So she went to the wayside, as they say, and that's how it was. But they kind of took her under their wing, and try to show her the proper way of living and putting God first and doing godly things, and you can reap the benefits, sowing your seed at an early time and keeping it consistent, and you will flourish when your season comes. um Basically, she goes there, greets them. They welcome her with open arms, and I guess she's staying a couple of days with them, or maybe just that particular day she got into town. But they had a nice spread for her. They were just talking about how she's grown and God has blessed her, and just having light chit chat, asking about Serene and how she's doing, and he knows she's doing well because they've been watching her from afar, and always keeping her in prayer to continue to elevate as she's doing, as far as revenue, monetary, and her spiritual walk. So that was a good scene. They were proud of her. You can tell they were proud adopted parents, uh, spiritual parents. Then we go to Jules. She's getting ready for her talk show, and the girls finally arrive in town at the particular place where she's hosting her talk show. And they all meet and greet each other, and basically trying to figure out what pieces of apparel they're going to wear, what the format is going to be, or what they're going to talk about. Just pre-structure before the show, so you'll kind of have a guideline that you can follow, so you don't run over or you don't get finished, sooner than you had anticipated for the time that was allotted for that particular show. So, they're all excited, and Brooklyn goes and gets all dolled up and get cued to things they're gonna cover, and she's just really excited. So I was glad to see that. And then we go back to the Tanker compound, and they all getting ready. I guess they have a cookout or something. And Benji comes by, baby Benji, and he's playing with his older brother Marcus's little boy. And his wife is kind of stepping back, trying to see what he knows about being a potential father, and this, that, and the other. And of course, he's showing his skills, but they're needing some help. But him being a first time father, of course he's gonna do error, trial and error until he gets it right. And he's not gonna let him anything happen to his child, because it's just in him not to have that happen. But it's going to be a change and a different perspective. That's all of them going to have to be taking a part of the new baby coming into the scene. So he's usually basically practicing on baby Micah, and he's so cute. I have footages of him, images, where you can see how adorable he is, and you can tell he's very well loved. And then we go to Jewel and Brooklyn. Jewel is interviewing her at this time, and they're on the set, and they both looking pretty cute. And she just asked Brooklyn to introduce herself, tell a little bit about herself, the different aspects of her journey, from when she started having not such a good time in life, and how circumstances were coming at her all negative, and this, that, and that, you know and basically just tell her side of her story from, I guess, rags to riches in a sense, or coming from a negative place to a positive place and staying there and maintaining that. Then she goes in to say, yes, she at the age of 15 she got pregnant, and then she had the little jail spill, and she didn't have the support of her dad because her dad was going out pursuing his dreams, and she's pretty much had a rough time, as well as two of her other siblings, and they just basically went through what they had to go through, and they were thinking, she started saying that if it wasn't for Jewel marrying her dad and taking them in like they were her own children, they don't know what they pretty much would have done. Then we pretty much go to commercial, then we come back, and we have Dad Tankard Ben. He's out in the backyard, I guess he built him a man-made little pond back there, and he don't, I guess, stocked fish out there where they were babies at one time. Now they done grown, full grown, and he's out there fishing in his backyard. And I'm like, I tell you, when you got money, you can build a backyard and have a fish pond back there where you can go and fish. Like you got your own little setting of a riverbank. Put that down. I mean, that was funny, but it was nice to see someone having that type of money and being able to place that type of scenery in the backyard and don't have to go that far to take his fishing pole. He just literally walks out the house, go maybe a mile, and maybe not even a mile from his house to his little fishing pond. So that was cute. And he'd been hanging around his oldest son, got a chance to be with his youngest son, and then his grandchild. So that was, exciting for him and relaxing. And he was just catching up with his boys. So let's see. We'll go to the next scene where we're going to Aunt Jenny's house, where they're going to be staying the remainder of their time there. I think they went to Detroit, I'm thinking. But I don't think I wrote that little piece of information down, but I think it was Detroit. But anyway, they're going to their mother's, Jules and what's her name, Janetta's auntie's house in Detroit, and evidently Cyrene, Brittany, and Benji's wife, and Jules stayed at Aunt Janine's house because they were coming out different parts of the house down to breakfast because they must have been staying with her or whatnot after she left her spiritual parents' house. And then Auntie Janetta and Cyrene showed up. So, okay, it was Benji's wife. I think her name is Shanika or Sharika. Her and Brittany and Brooklyn and Jules stayed at Aunt Janine's house. And I don't know where Janetta and Cyrene had spent the night because they were bringing their luggage in the house. So I don't know, maybe they stayed at a hotel. And then they came down after that. Okay, that's probably how it happened. But anyway, we move on from there. And basically the aunt is cooking them breakfast. And it was a nice spread she had cooked them, and then they went and got their plates and went into her living room, and they were eating their breakfast and talking over the things that they're going to be doing for the next couple of days prior to going home, because their taping of the show had already transpired and they did a good job, and I guess they're editing at this point before they put it on TV for us to view. And Janelle and Jules just talking with the girls to let them know that they're going to be going and showing them the places that they used to run around and participate in when they were living there, when they were young kids growing up. And they basically wanted to take them to where their grandparents had their own business. It was some kind of record store. What is it called? Yeah, it was called LaGreen's Record and Tapes store, and they had 3 locations, so they were pretty much balling back there during the civil rights movement time. She was expressing to them that they had a Rolls Royce cars and all these kind of expensive items, and she wanted to also show them where their mother and dad's record store was and the history around that. And let me see. Then they took a tour where they grew up, the home they were in. You know, they was telling them about the meager beginnings they had started out, their grandparents, and turning their lives into, you know, I guess you could say many little millionaires or whatever, if you can say that back then, during the civil rights movement. And, you know, they had their own little wealth at that time. And they were the cream of little creme in the suburban area. And that was pretty much it. Because they were, like I said, just talking about it. They hadn't even actually went out and started on their journey to seeing all those things. Um, then they eat breakfast and they go on out and they tour everything basically where their father had held his record store, the LaGreen's record store, and tapes. And when they went there, it had the same structure, but it was named some other kind of place. I don't forget. I think it was a title and loan place. What they was filming on our TV screen for our viewing. Oh, excuse me. And but they said it was like the same identical place, and it was just flooding back memories when they were looking at the structure of the building. So the building structure was okay. If you could imagine it being a record store, then you had that image to follow. That's where their father had his main location for the tape selling, and you know, people coming in now, I guess, doing a little recording here and there, and then bringing their cut record back for them to sell, as well as to promote it throughout the store when people came in to partake of buying records and tapes and all of that. So they were very proud of their parents, but then it was a downside, you know, once, because they were saying that their father didn't invest well, and you know, he wasn't a good manager of, you know, finances. So I guess he just didn't know the ins and outs of running a business and keeping it above water, and definitely keeping it in the black, as in the business world they say you don't want to be in the red. That's negative. If you're in the black, you're golden. Your revenue is flowing real well. It seems like it should have been the other way around, but you know, whoever made the labels for our society and the wording, it is what it is. But the kids were kind of impressed and everything. They see they come from business minded people and entrepreneurs, so they should continue to try to instill that in their lives for their livelihood, because you know, who's going to treat you better than yourself? Who's going to push harder than yourself? And if you're going to do all that, then I guess you should be working for yourself. So that's how that theory goes. Then we go to Janetta. She's getting very emotional with the whole thing of going back down memory lane, and you know, visiting certain areas in her life that she didn't really want to talk about, because it was like they had went from sugar to shit. They was in a real bad place where things were getting repossessed from them, and then they had to, you know, go through that and all that embarrassment that comes with that stigma being placed of not having money anymore, and not being able to work for yourself, but having to have to go and work for someone else just to survive. And you know, it's an emotional roller coaster. And you know, she was just you know, telling the kids how blessed they are, and that they do have the spirit in them to be their own boss, and they should definitely take advantage of it and put it into fruition, because there's nothing good about there's nothing good than having your own and building your own brand, so you can take the direction where you want to see it to go through or to, then you know, being some making taking your ideas and your talents and building for someone else when you're not going to reap the same reward, positive or the same benefits monetarily, so speaking. So that was a good lesson for the kids. And then we go to Jewel, and she goes on to take them where she had her first apartment, her condo or whatever, where she had kind of used her boyfriend, who's a drug dealer, had bought her and put her up in there. And then she start getting jobs and taking care of herself, and how she met their father. He used to be over there helping her out prior to them getting married shortly after that. So, it's kind of like, wow. And Brooklyn was going through her own little ideas of what she felt happened, because she was feeling some kind of negative way because she thought her stepmom, who's named Jewel, she's riding with and getting all this additional information from to help connect some of the pieces of why she didn't get certain things in her childhood. And, basically, Jewel was telling her, well, hey, your dad was sending me money. I was sending it to your mother. I don't know why she had to work 3 jobs, because she was getting like 20 something thousand, well, 2,000 and something a month for all 3 kids. And at that time, that was good money. But, Brooklyn didn't see it that way. She felt that, they didn't have a code when they should have had a code. Her mother was working 3 jobs, and, she really felt some kind of way towards the woman that had taken their father away from their mother, or at least taken his money away from them. So they were trying to build and mend fences between themselves and the incidents, and she was just trying to shine some light on what was really in actuality what happened. She can't testify what their mother did with the money that she sent, but she's just only saying, hey, I sent this money on behalf of your dad and me, because I was sending my own personal money to help him with you all, because he had 4 kids with other people prior to the well, no, he had 4, and then she had 1 because she had it by another man. So they don't have any kids amongst themselves from their union, but he has 4 from another marriage or relationships, and she had 1 from another relationship she was in. So, okay. Let me see here. Okay, then we're going into what Jewel is going on to tell the girls at dinner, because evidently they don't did their little sightseeing of where the Legreens records and tape store was, and the comments are going over the ordeals they went through, from having money to not having money to struggling and then getting back on top. And Jewel was going on telling them that when she was 19, she stole something from the store. She was locked up in jail. She had stole some lingerie. Her and a girlfriend of hers, and they got locked up, put in jail for it. And of course, they got out, but she still had that record on her by her being 19. And she telling them she used to date a drug dealer, and that's going all down memory lane with them. And of course Serene was like, now she gonna tell me not to do all this stuff, and then she's sitting up there doing everything. I can't believe my mom. But again, she's telling you that so basically you won't make the same mistakes, even though you probably ain't listening to her not one bit, and you're gonna make your own mistakes and this and that. And she's gonna have to just help you as you go through stumbling and trying to find your own way. So I think she said she got pregnant by the drug dealer as well, which happens to be Cyrene. So when Ben Tankard was dating her, she was already in the picture, and I think she was like 2 years old. So basically, he inherited a child, and that child never really knew her real father. So especially at the age of 2, they gravitate to anybody that will pay them any attention, or they are around that person all the time. They just assume to say, well, that's my dad, because that's all the man that they're seeing, and they don't know any better. So and in actuality, they did get married, so that made him her stepdad by her not knowing her real father, or being in contact with him and having interaction. That's the only father she knew. So that's how that went. And then she goes in and say how she had to leave the drug scene, basically from dealing with having any dealings, as well as selling them or, just hanging around them. Because, sometimes you are guilty by association and you could not even be doing anything but just having that friendship. But she had said that one of her best friends was with one of the drug dealers, and she was, had a boyfriend in that relationship with him, and she ended up getting pregnant, and one thing led to another. She just came up dead one day, her and the baby. So that kind of like hit too close home for her. So she was like, I got to get out of this type of situation and just clear myself from it. So, okay, then we go to Brooklyn. And Brooklyn is, saying now why Mama Jewel, if she didn't have Mama Jewel in her life, or why Mama Jewel didn't basically say what she had said prior to her acting out and going to jail and this, that, and the other. She probably would have never did none of those things. And then, they have a big laugh about it and everything. They go to commercial, they come back, and they're actually on the last day of their trip, and they're wanting them to go see where they actually grew up. They had their first home and this, that, and the other. So they go there. But then we're going to go back to Marcus is at the compound, the little mansion that they have up in, I think it's what is it called? Montfrey, Tennessee. And he's over, like I said, visiting his dad and his older brother. And he called himself giving the two, Marcus and his wife, a break. So he's saying his little nephew need to be changed, so he's going to change him. Oh, I tell you, he had the hardest time with that little baby boy. But the Michael was just, laughing and carrying on with him like, you're just going to be a good daddy. But, you don't know what you're doing right now. So they both basically tripping each other out. But then we go to Big Ben. He's going to see Benji. This is, I guess, another day. I'm not sure. But they're going to play ball at the gym. And he's, exercising with him because he has lost a lot of weight that I've noticed. And I don't know if he did it elective surgery or he just did it by dieting and exercising. But anyway, he has to keep it off regardless by doing that, eating right and cutting down the fried foods and all that stuff, and exercising and getting a little bit more mobile, which we all need to do. I definitely need to do it myself, but hey, it is what it is right now. So I'm aware, I just hadn't put it in practice. So anyway, well, I did put it in practice. Then it got hot here in Atlanta, and then my allergies started acting up. Then it got this cold spell started, being messed with. I've just been a mess, and it's still a mess at this time. But I'm working on it. I haven't given up on it. And anyway, they go and have a good time together. He's telling him, hey, you're going to be a dad real soon. Your wife going to be dropping the load. And how do you feel about that? And, he's nervous, anxious because he said he didn't know it was going to be all of this. And because he looks at his older brother, Marcus, doing it, the marriage thing, having the first baby thing, preaching the word thing. He's just this many-dimensional type person. And he's just very proud of him, and he looks up to him. And, Big Ben, the dad, was saying, I'm just so amazed that everything has come to connect with all of my kids are coming together and they're learning from each other. And that's just a blessing. And, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's a good feel moment. And Marcus is a good older brother. He talks like he has a wealth of wisdom and experience behind him, and he's a God-fearing person from what he's showing us, and he's acting very appropriately, and to be a young man such as his age status, and being able to handle himself like a young adult. That's very, very good. I'm very glad they're showing that positivity of black men and married black men at that. So that was a good feel good moment. And I like the way that Big Ben was looking out the little Ben and trying to give him some advice, and telling him, yeah, you're gonna have to change a lot, and if you just use these words, yes dear, and comply, you'll make your life a lot easier. than, going against what your wife is saying, because you're going to have more headaches than you're going to have, good times. So try to make her happy, because if she ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So that's basically what he was trying to tell him. And that was a good scene as well. Then we're back out in Detroit, and Joel and Janetta are showing the girls where they grew up, and of course they're getting all emotional. And what I ain't like about Serena, I guess because she basically grew up in wealth after Mama Jewel had married Ben Tanker, which is her stepfather and the only father she's known. But Cyrene has been given everything, so she's never really had to want for something or anything, and I'll have to get out there and get a job and work to compensate for what she did wanted, that her parents may didn't have the extra money. But she still had that drive to get it. So, even if she had to go do it on her own. So the other kids had to struggle a little bit, growing up through no fault of their own, just being born into a bad situation. But still trying to have love around them to get them through it, and some, other responsible people that were in their family based unit that, wanted to help them out and see them have some things that they normally should have. They shouldn't have to go without. These are necessities we're talking about, such as food, shelter, and water, and all that good stuff. And Cyrene never had to think about that. She never had to worry about that. So she couldn't understand their plight. And you could tell she couldn't understand it, because it's like she was kind of getting annoyed. Because when she finally saw the house that they grew up in, she said, oh, this is not no mansion. It's nothing compared to where we live. And, just all tacky and just closed-minded, simple-minded. I was like, ew, this is a bad look for you, girl. To have two solid parents that are very well grounded and spiritual based, for you to even be thinking that way. I mean, I know she's human, I know she's young, but pull up. It's just a bad look. A bad look. I can't stand it. And then, she goes to what else? Cause she had made another sly comment. The whole thing was, if you basically put her in a bad situation, she definitely. I got that. Oh, okay, you on tape, Mama? About saying you being recorded on tape. You said you want to be there. Okay, but basically, she couldn't identify, and then Brittany and Brooklyn, they were being very emotional about, they were glad Mama Jewel had came and saved them or rescued them from a bad situation, because the latter part of their childhood was better because she had included herself in their family dynamics. And they were hugging her and crying, and she was hugging them back, and she was thinking that Serene could have some compassion or empathy, but she was sitting out there like a sore thumb. I was just like, oh, I don't understand this girl. I don't understand her. But anyway, that's basically where we were at. Everybody had a good time, learning about their parents' past lives and how they grew up, and now they get an idea that their parents are down to earth. They do have some comparison and some similarities to what they went through, that they're going through the same thing, but not on the poverty type of side that they had to experience. But anything could change in a blink of an eye, so you just got to be able to be prepared to roll with the punches, and go through life, not living in a glass house, or not throwing stones at another person, because you don't never know when that situation could change for them, and then you could be on that receiving end of the negativity. So it was a good show. I really enjoyed it. I plan to look at it again and see how I feel about another episode, to determine whether I'll keep putting this out. But like I said, it was all good, and I hope y'all enjoyed the review of the show. Leave me commentary in my comment box. Tell me what you felt about it, if you do so want to tell me. If not, just check that like button. Tell several friends, family members to come on over to the channel. Let's grow together. And I'll see you next time for more Thicker Than Water, the Tanker family. Okay, y'all have a great weekend. Be blessed, stay encouraged, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.